Today our chapter is government budget and its components. Now, when I say government budget, students, all of us makes the budget. When I talk about, we are studying macroeconomics. When I talk about a very individual unit, for example, I am talking about the family, that is the microeconomics. If I talk about the family need to make the budget. What they do, they see that these are the incomes they are getting. Suppose a family gets the income of 50,000 per month from all its sources. So what it will do, it will plan accordingly that out of this 50,000, this much fees of my child I have to give, this much I have to spend on my eatables or on the grocery items or on the vegetables, fruits, on the clothing, this much I have to save, this much I have to reinvest in my business. All such statements of expenditure and income is made. Suppose if the income of the family is 50,000, without making any type of budget, without considering the income, if haphazardly a family is doing the expenditure, it means at the end of the month it's possible that it is left with nothing. Similarly, if I talk about the state, all the states plans about their expenditure and income. They are having all the statements that from these sources they would be earning their revenue, and these are the areas where they have to spend. If I am talking about the Indian government, it means that it is a very bigger unit. It's in the macroeconomics. We are talking now for the economy as a whole. If I am saying that for the government, is it possible that government could run without making a budget? It's not possible. Dear students, all of you know who is the finance minister of our country? It's Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman. It's the finance minister of any country which deals with all the financial activities of the country. Now it's her responsibility to see that the budget is prepared well in advance, so that at the end of the year the government would be having the sufficient amount. At the end of the year, it should not be that government now says from where we should be taking the amount, we still have to do this expenditure. So at the beginning the government makes a statement that during the coming year this expenditure we would be having, and this would be these would be the areas from where we would be earning the revenue. So when is the government budget presented? It is presented on 1st of February for the next financial year. Budget is always presented in advance. It is for the next financial year. In the budget, the government also discussed what in the earlier fiscal year it had happened, in the earlier accounting year it had happened, and the government presents the budget for the next accounting year. So let me make you clear how to define the government budget. It is a statement. It's a statement. Statement means that we are deciding in advance what income and expenditure we would be having. It's a statement of what? Government expenditures and revenues for the next accounting year. For the next accounting year, not the assessment year. Statement of government expenditures and revenues for the next accounting year is the government budget, or we can say this is how we can define the budget. Now, after defining the budget, what we are having? We are having the components of budget. Components of budget. Components of budget means that from where we are getting the income, from where we are spending it. We are having two components of budget. One is the budget receipts, where we are going to earn the money. Another one is the budget expenditure. Budget expenditure. both the budget receipt and budget expenditure is further divided into two parts. A revenue receipts and capital receipts. Let me first explain you with budget receipts, then we would be coming to the budget expenditure. When I say budget receipts, it means that whatsoever government is earning by howsoever way. Now, we will see how the government is earning. We are having two types of earnings of the government. One is the revenue receipts, another one is the capital receipts. First of all, I will tell you how to define the capital and the revenue receipts. Now, when we are receiving money, students look, it's not possible to cram everything. So every time we cannot cram. We have to understand the concepts, basic concepts clearly. Now when I say I am receiving something, the government is not doing any business. So government cannot sell anything and receive. That government is selling this and this thing. For example, we say I am doing the grocery business. So I am selling this thing, I am earning the revenue. That's not possible for government. Secondly, government is not doing the service. Like I am doing the service, I am going to my school and I am earning the salary. So government is neither earning the salary, government is not selling anything of which the government is getting the amount. So, when the government is receiving something, money is received. How the money is received? Either the assets are sold. When the assets are sold, it means the assets are reduced. It is a reduction in assets. Get my point? That government can sell its assets to get the receipts one way, or the government can take a loan. Assets are sold or loan is taken. Loan is taken. It is also the way the government can have the money, government can earn the money. Only two ways the government is having. Either the government sells its assets or government takes the loan. So if the government is taking loan, then what will happen? Liability is increased. Got my point? So you have to think in your mind when it comes capital receipt. When the government is receiving money, either it is selling its assets or it is taking the loan. So how we would be defining capital receipts are those receipts which either reduces the assets or increases the liability. So this is the definition of capital receipt. This is all we had done to understand or make our concept clearer. Capital receipt is a receipt which either reduces the assets or increases the liability. Hope so, students, clear? So do not cram it. Just keep in your mind when they are receiving, either selling the assets or taking the loans. This point you have to keep in your mind. So defining capital receipts are those receipts which either reduces the assets or increases the liability. So how the assets could be reduced? You have studied about disinvestment. Disinvestment. Disinvestment means when the government is selling its shares in the public enterprises. Public enterprises means the government units. When the government sells its shares in the public enterprises, it means that government is doing the disinvestment. By selling the assets, the government is earning the revenue. This is one way. That government is earning the revenue, the government is selling the selling its shares in the public enterprises. Like if the government sells its shares in the BSNL, the government make the BSNL half private or sells 20% shares in the private hands, then it is disinvestment. In this way the government is receiving the money. Or we can say government is borrowing from World Bank, borrowing from World Bank or IMF, International Monetary Funds. When the government is borrowing from international monetary funds, what is happening? the liability is being increased. In the investment, what is happening? The assets are decreased. Okay. Borrowings from World Bank, it means that liability is increased. The government is increasing its liability. In this way, the government can earn the capital receipts. What other way? It's a repayment of loan by state governments. When I am talking repayment of loan by state governments, it means that the government is receiving the loan back from state government. Receiving the loan back from state government means that the government, central government, has given the loan to the state government. When the central government gives the loans to the state government, it becomes the asset of the central government. When that loan is repaid by the state government, it means that there is a reduction in the asset. It means that the asset is being reduced, that's why it is a capital receipt. So in these three ways the capital receipt could be there. We have to clarify that whether the assets are reduced or the liabilities are increased. These two are the cases in which the government can have the capital receipts. So hope so this is clear. What type of question comes your way that they are giving you certain transactions and they are telling you to classify those transactions as a capital receipt or the revenue receipt. So this kind of question can even come for 6 marks, where you have to classify. Whenever you are classifying the capital receipt, you have to classify it in two ways. Either increase in liability or decrease in asset. You cannot give both the things. You have to classify like they're saying the government is borrowing from some foreign bank. So when the government is borrowing from some foreign bank, it means that the liability is increased. So you have to specify that in this case liability is increased. That's why it is a capital receipt. Fine. Hope so capital receipt is clear. Now, after the capital receipts, we are having revenue receipts. How to define? Neither. It's just the opposite of capital receipt. Neither decrease in asset nor increase in liability. So that's why I have talked first about the capital receipt to make your concept clear. Now, when I say there is a neither decrease in asset nor increase in liability, it means that we are talking about the revenue receipt. First you have to define it that those receipts with neither decreases the asset of the government nor increases the liability of the government. These are further of two types: tax receipts and non-tax receipts. Non-tax receipts. Tax receipts or non-tax receipts. So when we say tax receipts, tax everyone is aware of. These are the compulsory payments made to the government by the households. When the government receives the taxes, neither its assets are reduced nor its liability is increased. When someone pays taxes, like I am paying the income tax, for me it would be the expenditure. But what happens? Neither the assets of the government is reduced nor its liability is increased. That why it terms as revenue receipt. And if we relate it with the chapter of national income, so taxes are not included in calculating the national income because they are the one-sided payments. So this is also one-sided payment. The government does nothing for it. Now, tax receipts are the receipts where no liability is increased, no assets are reduced. So taxes are further of three types. One is progressive and regressive tax. Progressive and regressive taxes. When I say progressive and regressive taxes are those taxes the burden of which is more on the rich people and less on the poor people. That is the progressive tax. When the burden of tax is more on the rich people, less on the poor people. When I say that the tax slabs are being made by the government, tax slabs means that from the who are earning up to 3 lakhs, no tax is to be given by them. The person who are earning from 3 lakh to 5 lakh, he is paying 5% tax. The person who is earning 5 lakh to 10 lakh, he is paying 10% tax. In this way, when the tax slabs are made, less tax on the poor people and more tax on the richer section of the society, then we term it as a progressive tax, when more burden is on the rich people and less burden is on the poor people. But regressive taxes are the opposite. Regressive taxes are how these are opposite. We cannot say that up to 2.5 lakh income, the taxes, payment of the tax is 15% after it is reducing. No. If I am talking about the regressive tax, the burden is more on the poor, less on the rich. Fine. It means that if in the economy, everyone is required to pay 10% tax. In the economy where everyone is required to pay 10% tax, the person who is earning 10 lakh, he is paying how much tax? 1 lakh. So 9 lakhs are left with him. But the person who is earning 10,000 rupees, paying 1,000 tax, only 9,000 are left. So disposable income less with the poor people. Rich people are already earning more. So if the taxes are uniform in the economy, like I can say that if we are purchasing some item worth 5,000 rupees, or we can say that if a mobile of 10,000 is purchased, and on that 10,000 mobile, the taxes GST is 15%. So 1,500 would be paid as a tax, irrespective of the person who is earning 10,000 rupees per month or who is earning 10 lakh rupees per month. So that is what we call regressive taxes. Fine. When the same amount of tax all the people have to pay, then it is regressive tax. More burden is on poor people and less burden is on the higher section of the society or the richer section of the society. Second is value added taxes. Value added taxes and specific tax. Specific tax. When I say value added tax means tax will be only on the value added by the producer. Suppose 1,000, like we had talked about that the problem of double counting. Similarly it is there. Like if the wheat is sold for 1,000, the farmer is having no tax, but the person who has purchased it for 1,000 in the flour mill, the flour is being made and it is sold for 1,200. So the taxes would be given on 1,200. After that it is sold to the bread baking factory. There it is sold for 1,500. Tax is paid for 1,500. If it is further sold for 2,000, tax is paid on 2,000. So in this way, more taxes had to be paid. Firstly on 1,200, then on 1,500 and then on 2,000. But what the government does, the government takes tax only on the value added. If after purchasing a unit of 1,200, 1,000, it is sold for 1,200, only 200 is the value added, the tax will be charged on only 200. After 1,200 it is sold for 1,500, 3,000 the value is added, tax is charged only on 300. This way the taxes are charged. The GST is a very good example of the value added tax. When we talk about the GST, it is refunded. Input GST and output GST. Whatsoever GST you are paying, it is again, if you had purchased a thing for 1,000, you are selling it for 1,200. So taxes on 1,200 are taken, only the taxes of 200 you have to pay for, the rest are refunded. So concept of GST is here. GST is a kind of value added tax. And when I talk about specific tax, it is paid on the specific quantity or weight. Like for this much amount, this taxes are paid. So this is the specific taxes paid on the basis of the weight. not on the basis of value added. So these are the specific taxes. After the specific taxes, we are having the direct and indirect taxes. Direct tax and indirect tax. When I say direct tax means the burden of which is borne by the person who is paying it. The burden of tax is on the shoulders of the same person who is paying that. Like income tax, I am earning this much amount, I am paying my tax, I am bearing my own tax. So when the person on whom the tax is levied, he himself pays that tax or he himself bears that tax, that is known as direct tax. When a person whom the tax is levied is not paying it, he is shifting the burden of the tax on some other people. It is known as indirect tax. Like I can say GST. GST is a form of indirect tax. We can say sale tax. We can say excise duty. We can say custom duty. All the indirect taxes, the burden of which is shifted to someone else. Suppose I am going to purchase something. Sale tax. Who is selling? The shopkeeper. He is selling. This is sale tax is for the sale, not for the purchase. But who is paying that tax? I am paying that tax. I am purchasing. That tax is not levied on me, but the shopkeeper is shifting the burden of that taxes on me. That's why I am paying it. So it is the indirect taxes. Those taxes, the burden of which could be shifted to someone else, is known as indirect taxes. So taxes may be clear to you. Now it's a non-tax receipts. When I say non-tax receipts, the government earns some particular receipts which are not the tax receipts. For example, fees, registry fees. Whenever you have to purchase a plot or purchase a land, you have to do the registry and you have to pay the registry fees. For example, you have to open up some factory, you have to register it, you have to pay fees. So that license, whenever you are making a license, you have to pay the fees for the license. These types of fees are charged by the government on the particular services given to us. Second thing is fines. When I say fines means the penalty, the financial penalty put by the government for not following the rules. If you do not follow the rules, the government is penalizing you. The government is putting a financial penalty on you. Like challans, when you do not follow the traffic rules, you have to pay the challan. So that is a fine, or it is a financial penalty put on the person who do not follow the rules. That is also one way of government earning. Third one is escheat. E-S-C-H-E-A-T, escheat. If I say escheat, it means that property which is left without the legal hire, that goes to the government. Without a legal hire, suppose there is one person, he is having a property at the prime situation, property worth crores, but he is not having any legal hire, he is not having any child, or he is not having anyone to whom he can transfer his property. So where that property will be going, that property will obviously be going to the government. That is also one way by which the government is earning. After that, we can say income from public enterprises. Income from public enterprises. When I say income from public enterprises, it means that there are for certain government enterprises like railways. Income from railways is a source of revenue for the government. Income from power generating projects. Those public enterprises which the government, like Air India is a public enterprise of the government, from where the revenue is earned, that is also termed as a non-tax receipt. Special assessments. It is special assessment. If I say special assessment, suppose there is one colony being cut by some farmer in the outskirts of the city, near the city, outskirts of the city, that is not under the corporation. When it is taken inside the corporation, some sewer facility is being given, the street lights are being provided, the roads are being made. For developing that particular colony, they have to pay the special tax, that is termed as special assessment. When the government is doing some welfare work in the particular colonies, then the people living over there or the person who has cut that colony, they have to pay the special assessment to the government. More could be the sale of spectrum, sale of 3G, 4G spectrum. 3G, 4G spectrum. What is spectrum? You know, how our 3G or 4G connections are running? They are running from the satellite, which is of government. What the government does, they are selling that 2G or 3G spectrums, that range, to the private companies. Like government is selling its range to the Jio, government is selling its range to the Airtel. The BSNL is the main government company. So there are rules of TRIE, where the government is selling the 2G and the 3G spectrum. So these are the various kinds of non-tax receipts which neither decreases the asset nor increases the liability. So dear students, hope so that budget receipts are quite clear to you. Now we are going to do budget expenditure. Budget expenditure is again divided into two parts: a revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Again students, we would be first talking about the capital expenditure. We know that government does not earn, or government need not to spend on its own. It's not any identity, it's running the whole administration, is running the whole country. Whenever the government goes in the market, it spends something. It means, if it is spending something, it means that it might be purchasing something. It is purchasing some asset. That's why it is spending. It means that increase in asset is there. Or how it is spending, it is repaying the loan. Repaying the loan. Repaying the loan means liability is decreased. How the government is spent? When the government has done some expenditure, it means either the government has purchased some asset or it has repaid its loan. So how it would be defined? Either increase in asset or decrease in liability is the capital expenditure. That is how it is defined. When the asset is increased, how the asset is increased? Government is doing expenditure on infrastructure of the country. Infrastructure of the country is being developed. The assets are developed. The government is making the schools, hospitals for the country. Infrastructure is developed. Decrease the liability. Government is repaying the loan that it has taken from the loan taken from World Bank. Okay. So when the government is doing such an expenditure where the liability is decreasing and assets are increasing, it means if the government is giving loan to state government. If the central government is giving loan to the state government, it means the asset is increased. So it also comes under the capital expenditure. Whenever government is doing such an activity where asset is increased or liability is decreased, it means that government is doing the capital expenditure. Similarly, dear students, when I talk about the revenue expenditure, opposite. Neither increases the asset nor decreases the liability. Neither the asset is being increased nor the liability is decreased. How we could be saying it? Expenditure on defense. defense does not mean that purchasing the aeroplanes. Expenditure done on the defense, to purchase the uniforms of the defense people, to purchase the food for the defense people, whatsoever it is, given to its army, air force or navy. So that is the expenditure on defense, which neither creates the asset nor reduces the liability. Similarly, subsidies, it's for the welfare, to run the administration or law of order or law or order situations. Law and order situation, it has to make the salary payments, salary and wage bills, salary and wage bills. It is paying to the MLAs, to the MPs to run the administration of the countries. It is paying to the policemen, it is paying to the DCs, it is paying to all the officers, all the clerks, everyone in the government jobs who is contributing towards the running of the administration. These all things comes under the revenue expenditure, which neither creates the asset nor reduces the liability. So this type of expenditure when done by the government is termed as revenue expenditure. When the government do such expenditure which increases the asset or reduces the liability, then it is treated as the capital expenditure.